Hey guys, alright, Brett from Iron Body Martial Arts here. So let's take a look at Sensei Seth having a go at the Wing Chun dummy. My channel focuses mainly on old style martial arts conditioning and toughness training, endurance training as well. Especially in the early days of my channel, I was very partial to a wooden dummy. So let's have a look at what Sensei Seth has to say, and I'll give you my opinion as a long time Kung Fu man.
There's a lot of different tools in martial arts that help us get better. Like karate's got the makiwara, or boxing has the speed bag. Muay Thai's got the Thai pads, or that enormous heavy bag. But none of them look quite as cool.
So already with that one, makiwara, I've spent hours and hours and hours on various forms of makiwara, be it like solid post ones, flexible bendy ones, just all kinds of makiwara, tree young saplings and sort of middle-sized trees with stuff wrapped around them, punching them, hitting them for hours. Some of this probably on my channel. If you go back through the scores of video I have, you will literally just see hundreds and hundreds of hours of conditioning. So if anyone knows a little bit about at least the practice of conditioning, I'd like to think I know a little bit. So yeah, this will be interesting.
As the Wing Chun dummy. My buddy Kevin Lee is really good at it. In fact, he's so good at it, he can do it in VR.
Actually,
yeah,
that looks pretty good. Yeah, actually, that looks pretty good.
But I know nothing about it, other than it is a wooden figure.
Yeah, it does look
two
strange.
Arms, something below that. And then a singular leg. So I asked my buddy Kevin, hey, can you teach me some?
Okay, here's the thing. So obviously that kind of a wooden dummy has been standardized by Wing Chun, style. But actually, what a lot of people don't know is that most forms of Kung Fu have some kind of a wooden dummy training. It doesn't always look like that. But these days, you go to most dojo schools or whatever, and if they do have a dummy, it will look something like that, or usually relegated to Wing Chun. But for instance, the 72 Secret Arts of the Shaolin, or Shaolin Kung Fu, which is a skill I train a lot. The 72 methods of Kung Fu, Shaolin Kung Fu. Striking at a wooden man or wooden dummy, although it doesn't actually give you a picture of what this dummy looks like. But it would be pre this standardization. Striking at some form of wooden man, wooden dummy, wooden representative of a person is considered, I think, it's either one of the proprietary skills, but it is considered like one of the ways to mastery of your Kung Fu. So let's see. There's a lot of varying opinions on this.
Wing Chun stuff, and he said, I can, or I can have my instructor do it, which ended up being like the most knowledge I've ever gained within a 30-minute span on martial arts in my life.
So dummy is really interesting.
So look, one thing I'd like to say first is that there's a lot of these guys on YouTube and Sensei Seth as well, and I'm surprised for how long they've been doing like karate or the martial arts, how little or how little of the principles of a lot of this stuff that they don't seem to know. The angles. I mean, they must know it from sparring and stuff, but yeah, the angles, the sort of blocking and covering at the same time. There's loads of like, I don't know if you call it self-defense, but there's loads of like Budo or fighting martial art systems that they don't seem to know about. And I think Sensei Seth covers it later on in this video, so we'll get to it. But yeah, there's just loads of things that a lot of these guys don't seem to know. I mean, you can't know everything, but it just interests me because it means that they've never really been exposed to like below the surface level of sort of martial arts, which is like kicking and punching and a bit of sparring, and whatever else. So it's not a diss on them, But, you know, I myself, years and years and years ago, was searching for the like deeper meaning of martial arts and the deeper skills, you know, and I found those in traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, but obviously they exist within Kung Fu and everything like that, and they all repeat. They're in that Penak Silat, and the Penan Tukan. That's really good. A lot of principles there of like blocking and covering at the same time, like letting the opponent, you know, like almost leaving a purposeful opening to let the next attack in. Just a lot of stuff that these guys then later talk about. Anyway, sorry, let's go.
You see the joint is movable.
Oh, interesting. So this is illustrating this
Absolutely.
from here.
Oh,
Yeah, so the wooden dummy is
This is like
the arm, yeah.
Like now you put the hand like this.
Right.
Sure. Now you
This was a cool video for me to watch as well, because I was, you know, I don't pretend to be some super master. I was learning some good stuff from this Sifu here as well. And I had a dummy similar to this one,
relax your hands, right? Let your body.
except it was freestanding, but it had the frame. It had the frame,
Yeah.
and the dummy was attached to the frame like that. And I used to really enjoy training on it.
Like focus all the way down here. Yeah. Let go. Yeah. Now two times. 3 times. 4 times. 5 times. 6 times. 7 times.
So I guess I'll give a bit of disclaimer now. Now, I'm not a Wing Chun man. So even if you go back to some of the very first videos on my channel, if you just scroll down, there's lots of videos of hours of me like using the wooden dummy. And I'm using it in a Kung Fu context of it being a wooden analog to strike and hit. I'm practicing some or a lot of these principles of, you know, well, that they practice slipping and blocking whilst maintaining pressure to strike and keeping that stickiness, you know, but yeah, I don't pretend to know all the nuances of Wing Chun. But yeah, it's a cool video what they got. I lost my thread there, but anyway, let's carry on. Oh, that's where I was going. There's a particular way that you have to hit these solid things. You know, there's just a way you have to condition and hit them, and they just give a different feedback, you know, to something soft. Sorry, bros, there's nothing I can do about the adverts.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, at the end, I'm gonna feel what the bone conditioning feels like.
Yeah.
It's not fun. The vision mind can use it together.
Bone conditioning.
Yeah, beat Kevin up as much as you can.
So usually,
as much as you can.
If that's vision, he punching on this hand, he come to here. I just enough. So he come on this side.
Yeah, you see, so contact and then sticking.
That's angle.
Angles.
It's hard to practice an art without having a partner giving you the resistance and the timing.
Yeah.
So the wooden dummy, it's not just for conditioning, but it's also for positioning and practice on your own.
It's different punching bag. This one you got to check into it. This one had the entrance. Had to maintain. So
I mean, look, hey, people, there's a lot of controversy about like Wing Chun. A lot of people poo-poo it. There's some good guys out there at it. There's some bad guys out there at it. You know, but there's some effective stuff there. And even if you just train on the wooden dummy for conditioning,
Just so much information here.
it's such a benefit to you.
Seems like one of the main differentiators of the Wing Chun dummy is it teaches you to be sticky, and not sticky.
Good
like
on Sensei Seth for actually, you know, giving it a go.
Who knows what?
You know,
sticky as in keeping contact with your.
because boxing bag isn't just the only thing.
Punching them in the face, which is apparently what Wing Chun's all about. I don't have any kids, but like, why are they always so sticky?
So number one, got build. Like
He says, well, I'll tell you what, I've got 2 kids, one 2-year-old and one 9-month-old. And why are they always sticky? I don't know, man. There's just always snot and gunge and ooze coming out of them. But actually, my ones aren't too sticky. No, do you know what it is? It's that as a parent, you just get used to the stickiness. Like, I used to, like, wipe my hands and rub stuff off my clothes and, like, wipe my shirt if it got snot or spew on it. And I think as a parent, you just kind of soak it all in now. And, like, there's no sort of ooze that doesn't come off your child that you don't just kind of you're just used to it. And before, that idea would have just like melted me and disgusted me. So yeah, there we go. So they're so sticky because their parents don't realize how sticky they are, and the parents just get used to it, and then they expose that child to everyone else, and you look at it and you're like, oh, yeah, that's probably it. Anyway, back to the video.
Like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We use a square always like this. That's training method. Okay. Number 2, open. Follow your thumb line. Swipe.
Yeah, so the center line principle, I mean, that's just like prevalent in so many martial arts, and you know, everyone should know it.
3, and then use a hip and pivot. Turn. Yeah, turn
And also a bit of grappling and trapping, which is good, like these guys are doing. So yeah, you know, entering into the guard, you know, being able to, just like even in Muay Thai, you'd do a clinch or something like that. Oh, that was another thing I was going to say. So before people in history, before people, even in the West, before people were striking boxing bags that swung, or a boxing bag full of sand or whatever, they were also striking things called pels, which is a wooden like post wrapped in straw, hay, cloth, whatever. And the feedback from that thing is completely different to like a boxing bag that swings. That's why even in traditional Chinese or Japanese martial arts, you have makiwara that are like free swinging post of wood, like a free swinging beam of wood on a chain. You have one solid in the ground, you have posts in the ground. You know, and the actual sandbag itself that everyone's adopted was only one of many conditioning tools used in sort of fighting martial arts or sword fare. I mean, pels were also mainly attacked with swords and weapons, you know, even if it was wooden ones, to learn how to strike and land your strike and get your angling and stuff. So yeah, going back, taking yourself back to training on a wooden dummy. Wooden dummy training, you know, even without an instructor there to show you what to do, I would encourage everyone to have a go if they're a martial artist, you know. Otherwise, if you're not a martial artist, go and, you know, or, you know, your martial art doesn't deal in concepts of angles and blocking and passing and this and that, you know, then obviously go and get some instruction. But anyway, sorry, I'm talking too much. Let's go.
They call one in hand. Yeah. I take the shoulder joint.
These drills that we were doing,
yeah, great stuff. Just simple gripping.
Who's not a dummy, were interesting because there's so much pushing and pulling and locking and like trying to squeeze your elbow into places.
At the shoulder line. Right.
So you're trying to emphasizing keeping my elbow.
Yeah, keep the elbow
inside.
Yeah, inside. So I want pull it. I want put my elbow into a joint. So he trying to punch me, and he cannot do it.
Right. It's really hard to manipulate this thing, but I guess in the nature of it, if it's hard to manipulate the wooden dummy, and you can get good at that, I'd imagine it's easier to manipulate a human body, which actually brings us to our next lesson.
Yes.
From subcompact machines.
Yes. Oh, we'll leave this running because it's an advert. But that was a really good point, and that's kind of one of the principles of like Kung Fu. It's like people are like, well, why would you train on this? You know, it's not realistic. It's not like a person's blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of superhuman. So, you know, you're training on the wood and you're training on this rigid, semi-rigid, flexible structure. You know, if you're doing like butts, you know, shunts with your body or strikes or presses, you know, which are traditionally, even originally back in 72 Secret Arts of Shaolin, would actually just be done on a tree or something like that, a post. And you still see it now today if you watch some of the videos that are out there, because it's so good that we have all these videos. But yeah, the kind of force, again, what I was saying before, the kind of force that you can develop is just a different kind of force. And I've had it in my life in like real situations and stuff like that. And also in training where, you know, because you train on these things, you know, you just kind of get a bit better rooting, a bit better power, you know, than you would have had, you know, or that people think you should have. So it kind of surprises them a little bit. You know, you can only be as good as you can be, but that's a good idea. It's a good point, you know, that he's covered there.
Which is leverage.
If you mash the elbow,
Yeah, this guy's really good. I don't know him. I've never seen him before, but obviously he's a true Wing Chun man, but also a bit progressive with it. Really good. You know, you can almost see the kind of Bruce Lee style, Jeet Kune Do-esque openness to this guy's Wing Chun. And you hopefully can also see why and how Bruce Lee developed his style from Wing Chun being his base.
Always having a better position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now it's at this point that things start to get a little crazy.
As it happens, the arms on my Wing Chun dummy broke.
Like trust that if he teaches me
Have to
something
replace him.
crazy, I'll be able to pick it up.
I like the music too.
I wasn't there.
Kind of built up the tension.
And amidst all of this, we really get two different.
So we've got sticky leverage.
Also, it's so important to look at this one angling. He come to here. I just enough. So he come on this side. That's angle.
Number 3 is the importance
Yeah.
of angles.
Right.
Yeah.
Never too much.
Now we used to do this. Yeah, we used to do this so much in traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu. You know, all the moves and guards and blocks, because they came from weapon work, were all about angles, positioning your body flat 45 degrees, you know, so that you could do similar things to this, whether it was with a weapon or with your hands. You know, you could sort of go on the outside, go on the inside, go underneath, you know, and they're all nuances, and you can't really, you know, you can't, and people say, oh, you can't use that in sparring, you can't use that in real life. Well, yeah, in sparring, you can't really use it with gloves. And I mean, you can, but there's a different framework to how you use those things. You can use them a little bit. But my, you know, and this goes back to the old thing of, oh, does traditional martial arts training work and blah, blah, blah. But my experience as a 14 years frontline police officer, I've had lots of encounters with people, lots of rucks and scraps and this and that. And my little treasure to those traditional martial artists, my little coin that I give them and myself to them, is that it's a bit of a catch-22 here, but you'll have to just believe me or not. A lot of these things work in the space and time of the difference between like life and death, or winning and losing in a bad way. And what I mean by that is when your brain kicks into like hyper mode and everything slows down because of adrenaline and because of your survival mechanism, because you're really in danger. And from my experience, I haven't had this in sparring or in, you know, a little bit of a, you know, ring fight or something like that. I've only ever had it in genuine danger. It's like you're going to crash, you're going to get stabbed, someone's trying to hit you with a bottle, someone's got a spade, a stick, someone's just coming at you out of the dark, and the world around you slows down. Now that's a physiological thing. It slows down because that's what your body does. Your body, your brain, when it's getting attacked or something, or life and death situation, processes more frames per second, and things slow down. That's why people say like, oh, you know, like I was crashing, I fell off my bike and it was just so slow. Well, it was slow because your brain literally puts on hyper speed mode. You can go and read up about it if you don't believe me. And it's in those moments that Budo training like this, or true martial arts, like sort of technique-based training, I've found has its little triumph. But it's very intangible. The only thing you've got to say that it works is people like me or other service personnel or other people who've been attacked or whoever telling you that, no, this actually works. These little things work when you train them, when you build up the muscle memory that they talk about later. Which is why it's funny, because in the traditional jiu-jitsu I used to train, they always said, you know, don't worry about speed, because when you need it, you've got as much speed as you need. You know, your brain sorts that out for you. You know, and that was something to do with this this, you know, processing of frames that your brain does. Anyway, I'm talking crap now. Let's go.
Same thing. So the same thing. You even do you do boxing, you still can use the same concept.
So anyway, these are awesome, you know, a little bit of principles to add depth to your pugilism, your boxing, your combat. It's always good, regardless of how practical or not practical, or will it work in the cage or the ring. You know, like, it's the part and parcel of the traditional martial arts, and kung fu, you know, it gives it its depth, you know.
Now number 4 just kind of happened. It stumbled upon me, and that's options.
Yeah. See, all these things, these are all things you should be covering in your martial arts class. These are things these are principles you should be studying above jab, block, pad work. You should be also studying these kind of principles. Otherwise, you should question, like, what am I doing? What's my martial art?
It's a little suggestive, if we're being honest.
Because even in MMA classes and stuff like that, and boxing, whatever, you've got that same kind of stuff, angles, slipping, working, you know?
Okay, so I hit one. I kick him out a little bit.
And then the individual methods and techniques of what they're doing, well, I'll leave it up to you to you know, decide for yourself if those things would work or not work, but it doesn't matter really.
I got this. Sure. Now he cannot grab it.
This guy, if you know, you can pretty much say that this guy, if you tried to attack him or mess with him, he would be a formidable character. You know, he wouldn't, you know, he doesn't look like a guy who's lost in martial arts fakery, you know?
Membership page. So if you subscribe for $2.99 a month, you can get access to that. And I'm going to try and get up next week my video with Jesse Enkamp where we talk all things karate.
Oh, that reminds me, thanks to the Patreon guys, still supporting the Patreon, Iron Body Martial Arts on Patreon, all this time. You really do help.
Things karate.
So what you want? 2, 3, and turn your hip, and 1, and step sideways, and entering.
You're just teaching him the basic form, obviously.
Your hands outside.
These movements look simple, but doing them, moving, and keeping a good posture is kind of difficult.
Kneecap, neck, open, kick. They can't have a bar. Right here. That's
Yeah, cool.
Jab, right? So same way is it learning how to understanding this. Because the reason why is much.
Another thing, you get that kind of empty, relaxed power when you train, you know, when you condition on things like that.
Okay, so really important, we learn your body, what happened this. Right. Even you close your eye, you remember what happened.
Because you're not afraid of the thing you're hitting hurting you, which is a natural reaction with your body. A bit of you holds back because it's like, oh, I'm going to get hurt. But when you're used to hitting wood and stuff, you go to hit a person, you don't care, you know?
Is the conditioning. But this works in multiple
My
ways.
realm, conditioning.
I feel like I can only assume that the Wing Chun dummy actually has some, like, magical state.
You make this
He's going to get him to twist it onto the bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where, over time,
It's on the
if you
edges of the
hit
bone.
the Wing Chun dummy enough, it replaces the bone, our little human bones, with wood that was inside of the dummy. And just like over
How much we got
time,
left?
maybe
Oh yeah, nearly there.
the Wing Chun dummy becomes all bone and you become all wood. Or actually, Sifu felt like harder than wood.
Now when I cut you, this not really good. Sure. But when I cut, okay, you got it. It's my body weight.
Yeah, this is a formidable weapon. The bones
His bones feel like
on the inside and outside of the wrist.
So you have to walk, but don't use your arm.
But it feels weak at first. You can train it very strong.
And hit. Yeah, you go better. Perfect.
Yeah, it makes me miss my wooden dummy, man. I really do miss my wooden dummy. I gave it to my old instructor. Had to leave it in the UK. I've been meaning to get another one actually, but from rental to rental, I've moved. Having, you know, working in the police here. Well, I've left now, but I was a police here in Australia for 7 years. 7 years in the UK.
Good. So this is where you go.
But yeah, I need to get myself a wooden dummy at some point. I'll just make a cheap ass one out of a polar wood or something. I won't make a Wing Chun one, maybe. Maybe I'll put 1 or 2 arms in the middle, but it won't be this kind of
your
layout.
heart and your lungs. Doing this over and over again at a high rate of speed, it's just like a heavy bag. Now, the last type of conditioning is your mental conditioning. Being able to hit something over and over and over again, it makes you mentally tough.
Yeah, it does.
This stuff does not.
It's good meditation as well.
This makes Kevin feel soft.
Yeah. One finger you can go, even though this, right? You still. Yeah. So your whole body is so important. It's not your hand, your arm. Yeah. Your arm, but your hip. Your power come for your hip. All power come for hip. That's what remember I say. You mash your elbow.
His fingers would be like little steel rods. I wouldn't like to feel it hitting. Yeah, because just from hitting the wooden dummy all the time, you know.
Nothing to do finger. It's all your body.
Right.
All your body structure. It's all power come for your strong.
Yeah.
Come for your ground. Everything ground. You have good grounding. Yeah. You're a good punch.
I may not have learned the super sick combination that we started with. I don't know, I actually don't know how far I got in it. But what I do know is that I picked up a lot more stuff that I feel like maybe even had nothing to do with the dummy, but at the same time,
What was the essence
maybe the
of
point of what the dummy is.
traditional martial arts? The theory.
Does that make sense? You can check out more stuff about Kevin Lee and Sifu Francis linked down below. If you want to see the full unedited thing, I know what you're thinking, Seth, are you putting knowledge behind a paywall? A little bit. Let's be honest. If it was a 43-minute video of just him and I talking, you guys probably would watch it. My editing is a product of what you watch, okay? So, blame yourselves. Subscribe or I'll Wing Chun you.
Oh, well, there we go. So, yeah, cool. Thanks for Sensei Seth for that one. Looks like he went and enjoyed the wooden dummy training. It's a foundation of many styles of Kung Fu. Like I said, I myself have spent a lot of hours on my wooden dummy when I had it. And prior to that, trees with bits of limbs sticking out, padded with a martial arts belt, just hours and hours striking that sort of thing. And yeah, what a awesome exposure to an awesome instructor that they got. True guide, true knowledge. And yeah, it's cool to see that these, like I said before, these guys from these different channels are, or some of them, so I give kudos to Sensei Seth, are branching out and trying different stuff, instead of, the old way or the older way of these channels that are just stubborn and not open-minded, and they're like, our way is the best way, or they make these stupid waste of the time fake martial arts videos where they don't have any understanding of what they're seeing, or they've never tried the training and they just try and poo-poo it, which is something that really annoys me. Another thing as well is that look, you'll have to forgive me, but for you American guys out there, another thing that pisses me off is that and I know a load of American people are like the main subscribers on this channel, so I'm not anti-America, but you guys probably feel it the same, is that you get all these martial arts, they culturally belong to their country, karate, kung fu, whatever martial art it is, it has a grounding in its own culture in that country. So if you don't understand that country and you don't try and understand it and some of their ways and traditions, you can't really understand the martial art. And it works the other way around. Like a lot of the times, like, with traditional arts like Aikido and stuff like that, people poo-poo it and this and that and the next thing, but I think a lot of people miss the picture, which is like, you got to take a look at the country and the culture and the reason why people are training these things in their context. You don't take Aikido outside of Japan and then start comparing it to like MMA and stuff and then complain like, oh, it's not working, it's not real for the streets. Well, Aikido was never made for New York City streets. There's only people trying to sell a false package of like, oh, this is a one size fits all. It's marketing. What was Aikido made for? Well, Aikido was made in Japan from, which was a product of traditional samurai jiu-jitsu, teachings and methodologies, that's where it came from. That's what it's for. That's what it's based on. And it goes the same with other traditional jujitsus and kung fu's. And you've got people studying them under the lens of like MMA and like modern streets, and complaining that they don't work, when like the methodology of movement, the methodology of punching and everything like that is just so completely different. It'd be like people doing HEMA and then complaining like HEMA, oh, HEMA doesn't work on the streets, oh, it's rubbish, it doesn't work on the streets. And if you don't know what HEMA is, it's that historical Western martial arts, like, with the swords and knight jousting and fencing and, long swords or short swords and stuff. And yeah, I mean, you don't see people whinging that doesn't work on the streets. But then I guess no one's ever tried to market that as functional self-defense stuff for now. So, but anyway, look, that's another topic. Let me know what you think about that if anyone's still watching. But other than that, thank you, Sensei Seth. Sorry, bit of a tongue twister. For having an open mind and trying some kung fu. Let me know, guys, what other videos you want me to have a look at, react at. Otherwise, I've got a bunch that I'm going to have a look at and give you guys my thoughts. Anyway, have a good one.